Tell us about Made Guy. Sit down in the Mafia. It's a matter of death or life.
Do you accept? Yes, I do. I notice you have a big following, huh?
Yes.
Yeah. And is it mostly from Saudi Arabia?
Middle East.
Middle East, oh.
Middle East, so a lot of countries from the Middle East. From the United States, a little bit, but you know, this is we will go over there to continue our interview.
Sure.
Okay. Welcome to our show, and today we have Michael Francisi. Good to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I wanted to introduce Michael Francisi. He's ex-Colombo family member, and he was one of the richest 50 mafia people back then, and he was number 18th. He had almost 18 indictments. Is that right?
Well, 18 arrests.
18
Yes.
arrests.
About 7 indictments.
Yes. He had 18 arrests and 7 indictments. And finally, he walked away. Could I call you Lucky Francis? Like when they called Lucky Luciano? I
would say very lucky, very blessed, yes.
Yeah.
To be alive and to be free.
Yeah, good. Let's start with we have like 6 topics we want to go over them. First topic is La Mafia. Or it's like that, the history, the rules, the things. Because in Saudi Arabia, in the Middle East, we were not affected by the Mafia directly or indirectly.
Right.
So what we see in the movies or we heard about Mafia, we thought it was a myth back then in 80s and 90s. And some of that shows were based on true stories. So today it's good to have one of the Mafia members, and he was a cabo regime at Colombo family, to talk about the Mafia history, rules, and let's say American Mafia.
Right. Well, you know, the Mafia is very real. Originated in Italy, you know, many years ago, and came over to the United States in the early 1900s. And originally settled in the city of New Orleans here in New Orleans, not New York. And then kind of, as a matter of fact, the first Mafia-related trial was in New Orleans. And then obviously some of the biggest cities like New York and Chicago and places in Florida, Kansas City, it kind of spread all over the country. And New York is really the center of power for the Mafia in America. And it always has been. Chicago, another major city, but really New York is where you have 5 of the 9 recognized families are in New York, and the most powerful families in New York. And it's a very real thing. I mean, I was, you know, part of one of the families, the Colombo family, and my dad was at one time the underboss, which is the second in command in that life, and it's a very powerful position. And I started out as a soldier and then reached the position of capo regime or captain. And yeah, it's very real. I mean, you know, obviously Hollywood takes dramatic liberty with some of these movies, but you know, the organization certainly exists and has existed for over 100 years here in America. It's also in Australia. You know, it's very active there right now. I know that for a fact. And other places throughout the world. So.
Okay, so tell us about Made Guy or Made Man. How do you become a Made Guy, and how was the process?
Well, somebody first has to sponsor you or propose you. A member in that life has to propose you or sponsor you to become a member. In my case, it was my father. He sponsored me. He proposed me. He said, I have what it takes, I could be trusted, you know, I'm his son, obviously.
It is kind of nepotism?
Oh yeah.
You mentioned...
A lot of nepotism in that life. Okay. And that's really a security reason, because you can trust your family, allegedly. And so I was almost 22 years old. My father proposed me, and at that point in time, I became a recruit. And I have to earn the right to become a member. I have to prove myself. And that process could last a year, 2 years, and in some cases, 20 years. When I finally got made in 1975, I was around guys that had been waiting since the 50s to be made. Older guys, you know. But
you have to prove yourself.
You got to prove yourself, yes. And so for about 2.5 years, I was a recruit. When I first got proposed, I met with the boss of our family, and that's the highest position. And he said to me, your father has proposed you for membership in that life. Is this what you want? I said, yes. He said, well, here's the deal. From now on, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you're on call to serve the Colombo family. And that means if your mother is sick and dying and you're at her bedside and the family calls you to service, you leave your mother, you come and serve us. From now on, we're number one in your life. Yeah, we're number one before anything and everything. And they say, when and if you prove yourself worthy, we'll let you know. And then I was told, you know, I got to be at a certain place every day to report in, and whatever I was told to do at that point, I had to do. And that for me lasted about 2.5 years. And then October 31st, 1975 was when I was called into a room with 5 other gentlemen, and that night we all took an oath and became sworn made members of the family.
Okay. Can you tell us the author process?
Yeah.
How did that go?
Well, on that particular day, I was told by my cop regime, he said, you know, be available all day today in case we need you. And then I got a call at about 7 o'clock at night. He said, put on a suit and meet me in such and such a place. And that happened often, so I didn't know what was going to happen. For security reasons, they don't tell you the night you're going to be made. They don't let anybody know, because obviously you don't want law enforcement to know. So at about midnight that night, I was walked into a room in a private place that they had selected. There was 6 of us that night, and we were walked into the room individually. And the boss was seated at the head of like a horseshoe configuration. He was at the head, under boss, consigliere, which is another powerful position.
Colombo family or from the other families?
Colombo family only. Everybody makes their own. Every family makes their own. And then all the cop regimes were alongside of them. And I walked down the aisle, I stood in front of the boss, I held out my hand. He took a knife right here, cut my finger. Some blood dropped on the floor. This is a blood oath. I cupped my hands. He took a picture of a saint. It was a Catholic altar card.
Okay, got
Put it in my hand, lit it aflame. It didn't hurt, it burned quickly. It was just symbolic. And he said, tonight, Michael Francis, you are born again into a new life, into Cosa Nostra. Because in America, it's Cosa Nostra.
Cosa Nostra.
This thing of ours, And he said, violate this oath, betray your brothers, and you will die and burn in hell like this saint is burning in your hands. Do you accept? Yes, I do. And that's how it started for me. And once you take that oath, you're a made man.
Thank you for brought that up. And it's long process. How did Donnie Brasco get past all of that?
Well, that was definitely a security breach on that family, Bonanno family. It was obviously a mistake on their part.
Yeah, they 6 years infiltrated the Mafia life, and he's undercover.
Yes, and they didn't check him out far enough.
Yes.
You know, and that's a mistake that's made sometimes. There's been a few agents that infiltrated that life, and that's a security breach.
Yeah. To become a MAD member, you have to have Italian origins.
Your father must be Italian.
Your father must be Italian. Okay. What about Meyer Lansky and Bugsy Siegel, the Jewish that associated with Lucky Luciano back then, 30s, 40s?
They were associates, they weren't made men.
Not made men. Okay.
They were well respected, but you cannot be made if your father's not Italian.
Okay, got it.
No. Thank you.
Welcome. We love it. It's hot. Okay. Okay.
It's good.
So, New York Department of Records mentioned that inmate number 24806, Lucky Luciano, helped helped in the World War II effort that time.
Yes.
Because he was controlling the docks.
Yes.
How was powerful the mafia back then?
Very powerful because we controlled the unions in this country. And the unions, we made them powerful. And if you control the unions in America, you control a great part of the country. Because politicians are beholden to the unions. The Teamster unions had at one point 2.5 million members driving trucks all across the country. If you call a strike, the whole country shuts down. No goods are delivered anywhere. The unions, same with the docks. You call a strike, nothing comes in, nothing goes out. Country shuts down. So, and they were beholden to us, we controlled them. And also, politicians expect votes from the unions. So they're beholden to us to deliver those votes. We also had huge pension funds in the bank to support different things. There's so many things that the unions controlled, and Luciano, they needed his help during the war.
Sit down in the mafia. Did it look like sit down like right now?
No.
Totally different.
Totally different. Yeah. It was a very serious process in a sit down. Everything was decided in a sit down, whether it be a business deal. Unfortunately, somebody's life could be at stake. You know, you discussed whether this person was going to get a pass or whether he was going to suffer severe consequences. Issues between the families, always at a sit down. And the rules were very strict. No disrespect at a sit down. You don't call people names, you don't, you're not disrespectful. You're disrespectful, you lose the argument. And whatever the decision the boss makes, that's it. There's no appeals, no nothing. You walk away and that's it. You win, you lose,
this was
whatever.
Part of that life. It's a matter of death or life, the sit down.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
And loyalty, betrayal, wars. So I think that the law enforcement got a lot of clues as a result of betrayal, wars, and loyalty. How did the loyalty measure in the mafia back then?
You know, what happened in the United States is that law enforcement became very powerful with the laws that they had, and there was a lot of betrayal in that life because guys did not want to go to jail forever, long period of time. And so a lot of people became informants. They became more afraid of the government than they did of the mafia. And they became informants, and they put a lot of people in jail. And in the mid-'80s, that's what was seriously, not destroyed because it's still alive here in the United States. They still exist. Not as powerful as it was because of all the betrayals.
What does Colombo family means to you?
Well, you know, I had a very idealistic view. I wanted to be the best possible mob guy I could be at that time. I wanted to, make my father proud, and I wanted to, rise to the top. And so I worked hard at being a good mobster. And I succeeded in many ways. We did a lot. Because the cop regime is a very powerful position. I had a lot of men under me, and I was fortunate. I knew how to use that life to benefit me in business. I made a lot of money for a lot of people. So that's how you rise in the ranks in that life. And I still remember good times in that life. When I walked away, it was very hard for me, very difficult, because I felt like I was betraying my oath. And I really labored over it. And sometimes I even think back, but most of the people I ran with in that life are dead or in prison for the rest of their lives. Everybody. As a matter of fact, one of my closest guys just passed away this week. Yeah.
So you think it's like a burden were lift off your shoulder?
When I walked away, yes, because I became a major target of law enforcement. I had 18 arrests, 7 indictments. So they were on me all the time. And then there's a lot of pressure within the life. I saw a lot of guys around me get killed, for things. And so it's a lot of pressure being part of that life. It really is.
So watching the mafia rise and fall, the betrayal started, I think, 50s with Joe Valachi.
Yeah, Valachi was the first major one, yes.
Major rat, they call it.
Yeah.
And back then, I see there were a lot of betrayals happened in Gambino family at the executive levels, but the bosses level. So why Gambino family? There is a lot of betrayal over there, and it's ended up with Gotti.
It was one of the bigger families at about 250 members, and law enforcement really keyed on the Gambinos. John Gotti, he brought a lot of heat because he was out there so much in front of the camera, and that wasn't a good thing. That life is supposed to be secret, not supposed to be out there in front of everybody. So, law enforcement, they had a lot of surveillance. They caught a lot of people saying bad things on tape recordings and all of that. And they present it to the guy. They say, look, you're going to jail for the rest of your life, or you're going to get killed. Cooperate with us. We'll put you in a witness protection program. We'll change your identity. We'll give you money. Cooperate with us. And a lot of guys, it was an offer they didn't refuse. They took it. So the Gambinos happened to be hit pretty hard. Our family was hit hard too. Colombos were hit very hard. Yeah, we had a big war in our family in the early 90s. And I think 13 guys got killed. About 18 guys flipped, became informants. Another 60 went to jail. I mean, we were devastated. I was in jail already, so it didn't affect me, but...
I see like betrayal happened a lot in Gambino family, and wars happen a lot in
Colombos. We were fighting all the time.
Let's move to the most important part in our interview, your business. Do you smell the saffron? Yeah, we use it in the high-ranking meeting, or like parties, or like celebrations. So saffron is kind of like coffee when you put saffron on it, or the tea, or sometimes we use them as rock candy, and you saffron tea in the meantime, and coffee and tea, and it's flavored with saffron. It's kind of.
I'm a good eater. I like to try everything.
We need you to eat us some recipe from Italian dishes.
You would. I'm opening up a restaurant here, a pizza place. I have 2 stores in LA too. Slices. One is in Little Tokyo.
Okay.
And one is on Flower and 5th Street in a Citibank building downstairs.
Well, I'll get the address from you.
I'll give you the address. You're coming. Come and visit.
And I'll give you the address. Well, if you would let me, I'll invite you to the...
I would love to go. Seriously, try it.
You're going to love it.
The lamb is great.
Are you going to eat with your hands? You don't have
Normally
to,
but...
I went everywhere, and Waleed would make sure that I can't sit on the floor. I'm too old. And I had my own little table. I had my own fork.
You did?
And because I can't eat with my hands. I can't eat with my hands. And everything's done with the right hand.
Right hand?
Right hand.
Oh, right hand.
Don't ever touch your food with the left.
What about your family? Your daughters?
Come close over here.
They didn't know. They were young.
Well, they knew because I got in trouble so much and I was in jail for 8 years. So they come and visit me. So they knew that part of it. But they don't want to,
Did they know that you were in the mob?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had too much publicity.
Okay.
But I told all my daughters when I got back, I sit them down when they got old enough. And I said, if you ever bring a guy home that's a criminal, I'll lock you in the basement until you come to your senses. You're not going to marry anybody that's going to jail, or is going to give you trouble, or is part of my whole life. Forget it. Not going to happen. I'll chase him. I says, you'll make me go back to being a mobster, so don't do that. Because I don't want them to have that headache,